Hello and welcome back to another movement and mobility session. In today's session, you're going to be needing a foam roller, a soft tissue ball of some sort, and then since today's routine is all about healthy knees, if you do have some limitation in how much your knee can move, or if you have trouble going into this sort of position on my left knee right now, then I also advise using some sort of beach towel or bath towel, something to help cushion your knees in these positions. So a quick overview of the knee. It is mainly a hinge joint, which means it goes back and forth. And there is a subtle degree of lower leg movement that has to occur too. The reason that people often get knee pain or extra stress across their knees is because of tightness here along the front side and the quad muscle, which we'll work on today. Tightness along the lateral chain or the outside of the body. So here's the IT band and some hip flexors up here, which play a role. And then if we look at the back side of it, so as the knee has to straighten out, the hamstrings and then the glute tension also will play a role in how well the knee moves. So we're going to be hitting all those areas, activating the back side of the body and lengthening, stretching out, and working on the front side. So let's get started. With the first movement, it's called a downward dog movement, which is a yoga term. So go into an all fours position, shoulders over your hands, hips over your knees, and then pop up onto your toes, lift your hips up into the air, and you see I still have a small bend in my knees. Get comfortable with this position, bend your left knee, and then drop the weight over into your right hip. So I'm straightening out my right knee as I drop the weight into that right hip, and then switch sides over to the left, dropping weight into the left heel, exposing and opening up the left hip a bit. Back and forth here. This is just a general warm-up, opening up the back side of the body, lengthening our muscular system, our nervous system, everything that crosses the glutes, the back of the hamstring, down into the calf and the plantar fascia. As you're rocking back and forth, think about drawing in your abdominal muscles and getting out of the front of your hips. So you're lengthening the back while lifting and reaching out of the front. Let's go 3 more here on each side. I'm dropping over into my right hip, dropping over into the left hip, and the left ankle and heel is going down. 2 more on each side on the right, on the left, back to the right, and then the last one on the left. After this, grab your foam roller, and I'll have you go face down on the foam roller because we're going to be hitting the front of the hip. So the foam roller is going to be here when you're in a face down position. I'm going to start on my right side, but you can do either side at home because we're going to be hitting both sides. So as you can see, it's almost in my hip flexor crease. And since I'm starting on my right side, I'm going to shift my weight towards you, opening up that upper front outside area of the hip. This is where the psoas muscle or the iliopsoas attaches. This is also where another one of the hip flexors called the TFL, which becomes your IT band. It attaches in this area. So at first you start rolling back and forth, finding areas of tension. So I'm rolling up and down, up until almost I hit my hip bone in the front, and then down 3 to 5 inches just along the front side of the hip. What I'm searching for here is an area of tension or tightness. And it should feel good. It should feel kind of like a good soreness. Once you found that point of tension, I like to kickstand my opposite leg, so my left leg, because the movement is small back and forth motions rolling over the front side of the hips. Back and forth. What's rolling here, what's happening with this movement really is the rolling action is coming from your hands and your foot that's on the ground, allowing your body just to do a small back and forth rotation through your trunk. 5 more presses here. Each time it's almost like you're pressing the floor away and then bringing it back over the top. Final 3, 2, 1 more. Once you've done that, go back over the top, still on the right side. And then I want you to bend your knee and then straighten it back out. Now you can keep your knee on the mat or you can raise it off as I'm doing. Either variation, I want you to feel it more in the front of your hip versus how much you bend your knee is not as important. So create that tension and feel that tension throughout this movement. What we're doing here is we're relatively turning off the front side of the body because of the pressure through the foam roller, and then we're activating the hamstrings and the glutes on the backside. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. And then switch over to the other side. So now I'm going on to my left side. The foam roller starts right at the hip crease level. To emphasize that upper outer hip, I turn over onto my left side a little bit more and then start rolling up and down. Remember, go from that hip crease, or the hip bone at the top of the front of the hip, down 4 or 5 inches, almost as you're working your way onto the front of the thigh. Again, searching for a tight point or a point that just feels like there's tension there, almost like if you've been sitting for too long and then now you're doing this routine, you're bringing some awareness to that. If you've watched other videos, you know I talk about awareness quite a bit. And the reason is that having awareness of our body, it allows for the muscle memory or the integration of what's happening from our brain to our muscles a lot more smoothly. And if you have better integration of those things, your chances of getting injured is less likely. So now you found that point of tension, and then we have those 15 rolls back and forth. So I'm kickstanding my right leg, rolling over the top, and then as I rock back, I feel more pressure over that point, and then it relaxes away. On and off here, about 15 repetitions, or what will be roughly 60 seconds. This one feels pretty good. And remember, when I say tension, I don't want any nervy symptoms or anything that feels abnormal. It should feel almost like a good muscular self-massage. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, last one. Go back on top of the foam roller in that similar spot. For me, I'm gonna turn my body towards you over to the left, and then again, start with that knee bend and straighten. Now I'm gonna move my right knee out of the way for camera purposes, so I can either lift here and bend, or I can keep my knee on the mat, either way. What we're trying to do here again is to loosen up the front or relax the front side of the body, turn those muscles off, and then we're activating the backside. We're activating the hamstrings with the knee bend. We're activating the glutes also, just from stability standpoint, and then also even more if you're raising your leg up. 3 more. 2. Last one. And then for just a minute, bring the foam roller aside and go on to whatever the first side that you were doing the front-sided stretch on. So I was on my right side before, so I'm gonna stretch the right quad out. And we're doing this on both sides, so it really doesn't matter if you start on the other side. With this movement, I'm fully on my side, drawing in the abdominals, bring your top leg back behind you, and try to grab onto your foot. If you can only grab onto your shin, that's okay. If you wanna go all the way down on the toes, that's fine too. From here, keeping your abdominals engaged, kick your leg back actively and get a stretch all across the front side of the quad, potentially up into the hip flexors here. From this movement, you kick, bring your leg down, and then relax. So I'm kicking back, I bring my leg down, and then relax. Each time kicking back, leg down to neutral, and relax. Kicking back stretches the front, pulling your leg down further engages that stretch, and then you relax and re-engage again, and that's where the muscle memory or the retraining of that brain to muscle connection really occurs. If you don't want to do the pull down towards the midline, that's okay. It just gives it that extra little bit of stretch. 5 more here. 4 more. 3, 2, 1, and switch sides. Again, starting all the way on your side. If you want a pillow or something for your head, that's great. If you can't grab your knee, I recommend using a towel or some sort of strap to get your leg back there. With this movement, draw on the abdominals again, so I don't want to lose my core positioning, my low back positioning. Kick back, leg down, and relax. Kick back, pull the leg down, and relax. Kicking back stretches the quad. Pulling down lengthens the lateral chain or the outside chain of the body, including the IT band area, and then relax. This one should feel pretty good. The only reason it might not feel good is that if you have some pre-existing knee issue and the range of motion just doesn't feel that healthy to be in, that's where I recommend using some sort of strap or ball, or only don't go as far into the movement. 5 more here. 4, 3, 2, last one. And after that last repetition, flip over onto your back, and we're gonna leverage and maximize that length that we just got through the front. With this movement, it is what I call a Pilates bridge. So in yoga bridge, they often will overarch the back, and which is fine, it's just a different variation. Pilates bridge is more of a roll and tuck under, so it's a low tuck and curl. That's what I wanna do here because it gets more glute activation, and that is what I really wanna fire to open up the front side of the hips. With this movement, you can get started if you're familiar with it. Otherwise, listen here for a second, and we have 15 as a group. Draw on your abdominals, tuck your hips under. I'm engaging my glutes. I feel the hamstrings lightly engaged, core is pulled in, and then lower down. Draw on the abdominals, tuck your hips, raise, pause, and lower back down. Draw on the abdominals, tuck the hips, raise, pause, and back down. Keep going here. The biggest thing that I try to think about while doing this glute bridge is to make sure that my belly button is lower than my hips at the top of the movement. So if you want to look up for a second, here you can see that my hip bone is higher than my belly button. That's what I want. If this happens, if I raise up and my belly button becomes higher than my hips, that's where the problem's at. We have 5 more here. Feeling the glutes each time. 4 more, pull those abdominals in, creating a length and almost stretch across the front side of your hips. 3, 2, and last one. For the next movement, you will need the foam roller, and we're gonna go on to our sides along the IT band. I'm gonna start on my right side. As you're getting comfortable with this movement, a quick note on the last glute bridges exercise. If you get cramping in your hamstrings, that just means that your glutes are not familiar in that position. So something's happening where your hamstrings are going into a shortened position and they want to work more, so they're cramping up because they're activating in such a small range. Kick your leg out of it, relax the hamstring cramp, and then try to go back into it again. For this movement, we're going to be working along the IT band all the way up from the hip here, and then rocking down to about the mid-thigh. You can go all the way to the knee if you'd like. Starting off, it's just a back and forth movement. As I do this, I find different points of tension up in the hip area, and then as I work down into the mid-thigh or mid-IT band area, then there's also different levels of tension through there. Neither is good or bad. We're gonna work that out with the next movement actually in just a second. Keep rolling all the way up, all the way down, and finding those points of tension. With this movement, I'm using my left foot and my left hand to help guide that rolling action. We have 10 more seconds here, and then we're going to go to the other one, the other side. And for the final 10, I'm going to slide down and hit the portion of the IT band in the outer quad that's down more towards the knee. Five more seconds, and then we'll flip over to the other side. 3, 2, 1. And switch to the other outer hip IT band area. And with the IT band here, just on the other side, I'm using my top leg as that kickstand to help guide the movement back and forth. Then I'm using my elbow and my other hand, again, to pull into the movement and guide how far and how fast I want to go. Right now, my left leg, which is on the foam roller, is off the ground. But if you want to set it down and roll it, that's fine. Similar to other movements we've done before, if you want to add in a small back and forth movement over your body, that's great too. This is just about telling your body it's okay to loosen up to these areas. It's kind of like going to the doctor when you were a kid, or the joke was, if I have older brothers, that if my finger hurt, they would punch me in the arm and then I wouldn't feel my finger anymore. And what we're doing here is we're overwhelming the sensory information to our quad and our IT band area. And it almost has no choice but to calm down, as long as you're not finding this too threatening or too scary of a movement. Final 5 seconds here. 3, 2, 1. Once again, bring the foam roller aside. You can use it as a balancing tool for the next thing if you need to. Otherwise, it can be completely aside. I'm going to start in a half kneeling position, which means my left leg is going up, right leg is back. And we just worked on the outside of the quad, hip flexor, IT band area. What we're doing next now is going to be opening this side up. To do that, draw on your abdominals, tuck your hips under, and then reach up and over, stretching all along the outside from here, rib cage, down into the hip flexors, down the IT band, and back. Draw in, tuck under, and reach. And we'll do these for the next 60 seconds. Each time, engaging, tucking, feeling that stretch as you pull up and over. What is key with this movement, and what happens a lot as people draw in, go into the stretch, is that they often will kind of like let their body drop, and then it compresses the outer side of the spine. Draw in, tuck under, keep that length. It is just as much about the tension here, engaging and maintaining length and opening up on the left side too, as it is with the stretch that you're getting. So a lot of times we try to almost compromise the stretch, go further into it by collapsing. Keep that stretch the entire time. Let's go 3 more. 2 more. Last one. And switch sides. For me, I'm bringing my right leg up now, left knee is down, and I'm just going to show you from the side angle as you get started. Once again, drawing in, tucking the hip under, and then now as I reach up and over, this hip slowly comes towards you, opening up the left side of the body, and back down. Each time, tucking, engaging the core, keeping that length, and then maximizing the stretch just by lifting overhead. You'll notice I'm not getting more stretch by trying to lean forward into it. The stretch is coming from engaging and reaching. 5 more on this side. 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you're finished with that, grab the soft tissue ball, or the ball that we're using for the session, and go on to your right side. This will be another upper glute exercise, but now we were focusing before on the front and then the side, and now we're gonna hit the back glute muscles. So where this should be located is almost in that location of where you get a pigeon stretch. So the outer hip rotator muscles right through here. Before we were working there, now we're hitting the back side and that glute area. To find that spot, I like to start on my back and then I roll over until I'm feeling some tension or compression in those muscles. That feels pretty good right there. It's intense, but it's good. With this upper hand, you can rest your head down, have your hand on the ground. You can support your head like this, or you can always grab a pillow and have your opposite arm just hanging and relaxing. Once again, I want you to find that point of tension and then roll your body back and forth over it. And depending on how hard the ball is that you're using, this might either be really intense or not very intense. So grade it accordingly. You can go faster, slower, put more pressure from your body into it. Once you found that point of tension, take your top leg, set it on top of the bottom leg that's on the ball. That pressure should create a little bit more tension in the ball. Now, draw on your abdominals, creating length here. Raise your leg up in the air, and then back down. Raise up, and back down. Each time I'm raising up, it's creating more tension in the pressure of the ball, and back down. 2 more. 1 more. Move the ball around just slightly, and then we have 5 more raises. Again, stacking legs, raise up, and back down. As I'm raising my leg up, I feel more tension in the ball, and I'm also making sure that that top leg isn't drawing in like this. So my toes are slightly pointing up, opening up the hip. 2 more. Last one. And then switch sides. I was just doing my right side, I'm over to the left. Upper outer glute area. And if you want to start off with some rolling back and forth over that tissue, play around with doing small circles through your hip, whatever you like to do with this entry movement to just bring more awareness to what's going on. Sometimes people ask, does the angle of the bottom leg matter? Not really. You know, you're working the different muscle fibers and different ranges, but ultimately it doesn't matter too much, because what matters more is the movement and the stretch we're going to do next. We have 2 sets of 5 raises. When you're ready, stack your top leg over the bottom. Raising up, I feel more pressure into the ball, keeping my core drawn in, and then back down. And back down. What we're working here is the top glute, actively engaging that, while the raise puts more pressure into the bottom glute. That's 5 there. Roll back and forth, maybe find a different spot, and we have 5 more raises. Ready? And raise. Another question that comes up is foot position here. I prefer to pull my toes towards my nose as I'm turning my toes up to the sky also. But if you want to keep your foot relaxed, whatever's more comfortable. Last one. And back down. Almost there today. The next movement is going to be a big outer hip stretch. I'm going to show the pigeon variation, starting in a full plank, but you can also do a figure 4 stretch, or any outer hip stretch will work if this is hard for you. From full plank, I bring my right leg up towards my right elbow and then across my body as I drop down and sink into that stretch. As you can see in the video right now, my left hip is higher than my right. So the goal is to bring my left hip towards my right knee. And that's the motion there. It's not about hanging out. It's about flossing into it and then backing away. So I'm dropping my left shoulder down, my left hip towards my right knee, and then back away. Each time increasing that stretch and then relaxing, increasing and relaxing. This is somewhat of an arm workout, so I'm hoping that you can get it into your hips just as much as you do as you're doing those small presses. From the front view, what this looks like is here, and then I'm drawing my hip down, I'm turning my body, so I'm angling this hip towards that knee to further increase that stretch. In just a second, we'll switch sides. 3 more, 2, last one, and switch sides. With this switch, if you get knee pain on one side or the other, simply bend your knee less. So right now I'm trying to do almost a 90-degree angle. If that hurts in your knee, bend slightly and then go back into it. There's no right or wrong. It's almost where are you showing up today. So the goal is to gradually work to get that knee up, but it's not too important today. What's more important is that you're not having knee pain. Once again, resuming that flossing action back and forth, trying to straighten up my hips. Each time stretching these muscles back through here. Let's go 5 more presses. Try to sink a little bit lower each time. 3, 2, 1, and relax. We have 2 more movements today, and the first one is in somewhat of a position like this. So if you get any sort of knee pain going into a compressed position, then I want you to grab a towel or something to stack underneath your knees. I'm going to show from the front to give you an idea of the movement. If you're using the towel variation, you can have the towel there. Otherwise, grab your ball and then set it about 2 inches below that crease of your knee, where the backside of your knee and your calf come together. From there, sit down into the motion, and then it's a side-to-side weight shift. So I'm putting pressure into the ball and then backing away. Side to side. If it's too intense at that spot, you can always just lean your body forward and take pressure off the knee. From the side view, once again, it's here, and then it's a side-to-side weight shift. Creating tension in the ball by compressing your knee back together. You should feel this in the calf muscle. Keep going back and forth. We have 5 more there, and then we'll switch sides. If you're using the towel variation, the towel itself creates compression. So find an area along that calf muscle and then rock back and forth. As you switch sides, I'm going to continue showing the towel variation, and now I'm going to add the ball underneath the towel. So what you can see is the towel is there to help me sit back, and then I bring the ball underneath the towel, which you won't be able to see, but then continue with the side-to-side rocking. As I mentioned earlier, if that amount of knee compression hurts, sit your body forward a bit and then continue. As you're rocking side to side, you'll feel the pressure go on top of the ball and then back away. Pressure on top and back away. 2 more. Last one. That is really good. From there, we're going to stay in this kneeling position or partial kneeling position. You don't need any equipment for this one. And then it's a hip thrusting movement. So we've already done some glute activation with the bridge. It's the same cues as the bridge. So you're going to go up, tuck your hips under, press forward, and then back down again. Press under and back up. We have 15 here. 5, 6, I'm tucking the hips under. 7, 8, 9, 10, you got 5 more. Each time I'm drawing in my core, tucking the hips. 13, 14, and 15. For the final movement today, I'll have you grab onto your foam roller again, and we're gonna be doing some squats against the wall. With this movement, start with the foam roller low on your hips. Squat down, press your knees wide, so you're getting more of a stretch across the inner thighs, and then lift up tall through your body. And the movement is using your hands to press your knees out. So pressing the knees out and relaxing. Pressing the knees out and relaxing. 3 more, out. 2 more. Last one. And relax. The last movement of all those, we've done a lot of things to loosen stuff up, but we hadn't fully worked on the functional pattern of getting our legs out and wider as we're going into a squat position, which opens up the front of the inside of the hips and takes tension off the front, giving you more room as you go down into a squat position. So that was a full routine on the lower body for maintaining healthy knees. Thanks again for following along, and I'll see you next time.